Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the IX Global Wednesday night overview. My name is Travis Flaherty, and I am excited to be your host here this evening. We have got a lot of great information that is going to be coming your way tonight. First of all, what you can expect is to learn a little bit more about IX Global, the history, the solutions that they are providing, and why they have become the #1 momentum company in the entire world. So we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the solutions that they've been providing to some of today's biggest economic challenges today. We're going to be talking about some different ways to be able to make money, to be able to manage your money, and most importantly, how to multiply that money as we go forward. So we're going to get into some of those solutions tonight, and I have some special guests that are here with us this evening. And if you are excited about or want to hear about our newest project, and I want to hear you in the chats, drop some 7 into the chats, because we are going to be getting into our brand new license that's being introduced tonight. We'll be bringing that up here a little bit more here in a few minutes. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for being here this evening. It's an interesting time in the world. You know, I found myself about a year ago searching for solutions. You know, I was looking at the different things that were transpiring. I was watching the real estate industry start to, climb and climb and climb. Interest rates were coming along with it. And I found myself looking at that and thinking, how are people keeping up with interest rates and the rising cost of homes today? You know, do you realize that the average household income in the United States is right around $57,000 annually? That's combined household income. So if you look at that, and then you look at the average mortgage payment, we have never seen or had or experienced what we're experiencing right now. The average household is paying 43% of their annual earnings to make a mortgage payment. Now, and it's not just mortgages, it's all across the board. Rising cost of consumer goods. You know, I was, at a sandwich shop the other day. Many of you guys know I love Jimmy John's. And so I was at Jimmy John's. I ordered a 6-inch sandwich and a bag of chips. And it was $19 for a bag of chips. I'm like, wait a second, how does this even happen? What happened to Subway? So we're looking at $19 for a 6-inch sandwich. You go to the grocery store, your dollar's not going as far as it used to. And yet the question that I would ask you is this: are salaries keeping up with the rising cost of goods? Absolutely not. And so what happens when we're in a situation where you've got, everything across the board is going up 20, 30, 40%, but salaries are not keeping up? What happens is people start to go into debt. Debt is it's a plague, is what it is. I mean, people go into debt, and now we're seeing debt rates, consumer debt rates, at levels as high as they were during the Great Depression. So what does that tell us? People are struggling. People are suffering. How many of us know somebody that's going to go to bed tonight saying a prayer asking for financial solutions? Just about everybody that's on this presentation right now. So I found myself looking at everything that was going on, and not just that, but I was thinking, I was looking at the banking system, and I wasn't really happy with what I found there as well. I'm looking at more banks that have closed in 2023 than ever before in the history of the United States. Take all the years prior to 2023, and then now we've seen just 2023 alone, more banks closed than all of those years combined. And I'm thinking, that's kind of interesting. So the banks are closing. And not only that, but the banks, they're getting tighter and tighter when it comes to regulation. So, I think that we all have this delusion that, when we walk into a bank and we give them $5,000, that somebody takes that $5,000, they say thank you, and then they go into the back room and they put that $5,000 into a safe, and then it just stays there. The reality is that's not how the fractional reserve banking system works anymore. Go look it up and do your research, because they're no longer required to keep those funds on deposit. So what are the banks doing with this money that you give them? Essentially, almost interest-free, right? I mean, they may be paying you a fraction of pennies on the dollar, but, we're giving them money to do what? To go and invest. And so they take that money, they go and invest it, and they continue to get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, and they're doing it at your expense. You're right, at your expense. And I say that because they are not only investing your money, but they're also wrecking your savings. They're working with the Federal Reserve, and what are they doing? They're continually printing more and more and more money. If you go look up the Federal Reserve, they have this interesting word that they use when it comes to their approach to printing money. And that word is flexible. We're flexible. We're flexible. If we need to print more money, we'll just go ahead and keep printing it. Go look up how much money has been printed just in the last 5 years in comparison to the previous 25 years prior. It's crazy. So as they circulate more and more money, what happens to your savings? The value goes down. Your buying power goes down. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, gosh, we're living through inflation right now that many of us have never lived through before. And if I can't make at least 9-10% on the money that I have right now sitting in the bank, then I'm losing money. So I'm not a big fan of lazy money. I'm not a big fan of lending money to the banks. You know what I'm a fan of? I'm a fan of becoming my own bank. And I would encourage you to do the same. One of the biggest principles that I teach is take that lazy money and put it to work for you. You start putting that money to work so that you can start generating income, passive income. The key to developing time freedom, the most valuable commodity on the planet is time. The key to developing time freedom is developing IPAs, income producing assets. You don't develop enough passive residual income, and that allows you to be able to go out and do the things that you want to do rather than the things that you have to do. So there I am. I'm looking at the banking system. I'm looking at the rising cost of goods. I'm looking at the real estate industry that really doesn't make sense to me. And I'm saying I've got to start looking at new ways and new approaches to wealth creation, because old ways won't open new doors. Some of these challenges that we're facing, we've never lived through before. My parents' generation, they were taught to go to school, get a job, save over the next 40 years, put that money away into a 401k or an IRA. And when you retire, you're going to have a lump sum of money so that you can go live on it. Here's the challenge. The challenge is many of the people that I know that have built up those 401ks are now trying to live on 301ks because the value of the 401k has gone backwards. They did everything they were supposed to do, but they weren't told that we would get to a place in time where the baby boomers are withdrawing more money than money that's coming into the stock market. What's the younger generation? I have a son, he's 23 years old. He calls me a boomer. He says, Dad, you're a boomer. Jokes with me all the time. He says, you represent fiat currency. I represent digital currency. Fiat currency is something that's going away. I don't know how many people have gone to a resort or into a grocery store, or maybe it's a restaurant, and they no longer take cash, as that's going to continue to happen. My son says, I don't even want to walk it. I don't even have a bank account. We deal in digital and everything that I do. They're not buying stocks. They're buying Bitcoin. So you have to look at the changes that are happening, right? You have to look at business in general and say, okay, we're going from brick and mortar to click and order. Everything is going digital. This is the digital age. And so you look at the digital currency and the adoption that's happening within the cryptocurrency industries, and then you look at this battle going on between the banks and the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. You've got this war that's going on right now. Do you realize that there are banks that are out there that will shut your account down without giving you any notice? They'll shut your account down if you are sending money to an exchange to buy cryptocurrency. They'll just close your account, no questions asked, because they don't want to make it easy for you. Do you realize there are banks right now in California that if you want to withdraw more than $3,000, you have to submit an invoice. You have to tell them what you want to spend the money on. They get up to a week to be able to get your funds to you. And here's the kicker. They can decline your request based on what you're spending your money on. On the other hand, let's say I want to go send $100,000 to a friend. If I want to wire a friend $100,000, we're doing some type of a business transaction. You realize I got to go in, I got to fill out a mountain of paperwork, I got to explain where the money came from, explain where the money is going. I'm going to pay a lot of fees. They're going to hold up that money for several days before it finally arrives on the other side. And yet I could go send that same person Bitcoin today, right now. If I sent it at this moment, it would be there within 30 seconds and it would cost me about 30 cents. Crypto's faster, it's cheaper, it's a lot more inexpensive. And there's nobody in the middle telling you what you can and can't do. And for those reasons, we're seeing this massive adoption that's happening. And so I'm looking at all of this going on and I'm thinking to myself, I've got to start looking at new ways for wealth creation. And I was introduced to the company that you're going to be hearing about tonight called IX Global. And I found it fascinating, some of the solutions that they were providing, the innovation. They are leading the charge in the world when it comes to digital solutions, products, ways to be able to generate income, to be able to manage your income. And so that's really what I want to get into tonight. So if you are finding yourself in similar situations as I was a year ago, then I think you're really going to enjoy tonight's presentation. So with that, let's go ahead and pull up the presentation. And I want to first and foremost, I've got to get this out of the way. I am not a financial advisor, so that should be noted. Anything that I share here this evening is not progressing for me. So let me see if I can move the slides here. All right. For some reason or another, my slides are not moving forward, Gary, so I might need your help with that. What is going on here? You got to love technology. Sorry, guys, just having a little bit of technical difficulties here. So,
Travis, stop the share and reshare it once.
Okay, got it. All right, bear with me 1 second. We'll get right back into it here. All right, there we go. First and foremost, the information that is shared tonight should not be considered financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't provide any tax or accounting or legal advice. You should definitely do your own homework, do your own research. The information that's provided here within this evening is really designed for educational purposes only. Now, what we do provide is we offer education, we offer software, and we offer hardware. So again, do your own research. Use the information contained here within is at your own risk. So the company was founded upon 3 principles: to innovate, to inspire, and to impact your life. The founder, Joe Martinez, was, he believes that financial illiteracy is the true epidemic in the world today. Think about this for a moment. When we went to school, they taught us how to make money, right? They get an education, go get a job. They teach you how to fill out that resume, but they don't teach you, once you start making money, how to manage money. For a long time, when we started making money as entrepreneurs, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, all of a sudden that money starts to come in. It's one thing to make the money, but it requires a totally different skill set to be able to manage that money. For a long time, I would almost bet that of everybody on this presentation, I could spend money faster than every single one of you. As quickly as it would come in the door, I would find a way to be able to spend that money. And it took a long time for me to realize that it's not just about how much money that you make, it's how much you keep, right? And so finally, I started to shift my focus from things to assets, right? That's the biggest difference between somebody who has time freedom, they have wealth, they have abundance in their life, they have true freedom, peace of mind is most people are buying things that they don't need to impress people that they don't even like, while over here, people are accumulating assets. And that's our focal point here this evening. And so Joe realized that there was need for this type of education to teach people how to make money, to manage money, to multiply their money. So we launched IX Global 2020 right in the middle of COVID, right? Worst time possible to launch a company. And yet within 6 months, he launched right in the middle of 2020, he did $4.6 million in revenue in his first year. In his second year, generated $22 million in revenue. He got all kinds of accolades, voted in the top 3 startup companies in the direct selling industry. In 2022, did over $206 million in revenue. What's exciting about that is the company is going into momentum. Momentum is known as the great exaggerator. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's a lot of fun when you're a part of a company that's exciting and there's momentum and people are talking about it and you become the #1 momentum company in the world. And so within a period of 2.5 years, we have topped the charts and we have some of the top earners in the world today. Let's talk a little bit about our environment, our ecosystem. So we provide education that's focused around financial markets, e-commerce, blockchain, and NFTs. We're going to be talking a lot about blockchain tonight. Blockchain has absolutely disrupted the world over the last decade. Community and leadership. Whenever you have momentum, community and culture aligning, that's when true momentum occurs. And they've done an excellent job of that here at IX Global. And of course, technology and social networking. Let's talk a little bit about the financial markets. We provide excellent education for those of you that are wanting to learn how to start trading your own money, to start managing your own money. I believe that it is truly one of the most vital skills that you could learn in life is how to start managing your own money. And one of my friends, Corey Cromray, who's the founder of Driven Trading, he always says this. He says, I always used to think that trading was so complicated. And as I started to explore it more and started to learn it, what I found is that there's a few essential key ingredients that if you can learn master those simple principles, and it's all about risk tolerance, you can go on to be extremely successful in money management. You don't have to be this expert at every aspect of it to be able to start trading money. And so what we have here is we have an excellent academy that you can learn on demand at your own time that teaches you in several different languages. You can start learning from these experts that are getting the results that all of us would love to have when it comes to managing money, from investing from the most basic levels all the way up to some of the most advanced levels. We're talking about learning how to trade in the binary options and synthetic indices and crypto, and of course, Forex and stocks. We took a snapshot here just from March 15th to April 19th of the history of one of our crypto services, which is extremely popular. And you can see the results on those trades that they were getting across the board are results that, any company would love to have. So this is a duration of 28 days, just to give you an example of some of the success that they're having. And of course, our foundational educational platform is Driven Trading. Driven Trading, again, founded by Corey Cromray, who is an expert, one of the top foremost traders that I know in this particular industry. And he has built just the most incredible educational platform that we are so excited now to announce that we have merged forces. We've joined forces. IX Global acquired Driven. And from this point forward, Driven is now available to our entire community, which is very exciting. We're getting tremendous feedback from those that are involved in the actual platform. They're talking about different Driven trading strategies. They have live trading that's happening. Corey goes live, as well as all of his experts, licensed experts, where they're doing live trades right before their eyes. There's no ability to be able to manipulate the history of the trades because you're seeing it live. They're trading real money right in front of you. You have the opportunity to be able to watch, to be able to learn, to be able to ask questions. We have a trading app that is absolutely incredible, as well as an academy that's available to you with some of the best training courses for anyone from amateur all the way to advanced that's looking to be able to learn more and to develop those trading skills. E-commerce, and I mentioned it earlier, the world is moving from brick and mortar to click and order. Think about it. I never thought one of my favorite stores growing up was Toys R Us. I never thought for a moment that I would see the doors close on Toys R Us and many other stores as well. Why? Because everything is moving online. There's such a tremendous opportunity today to be able to develop income in the digital platform world, and e-commerce is right at the core of it. So we have platforms that teach people how to get involved with drop shipping. We've got, you can connect your e-commerce or go into our e-commerce academy where you learn how to create and customize a store and to begin generating sales online. We, of course, have travel incentive programs that are available right now. I've been traveling quite a bit lately, and I started using our app for the first time only a couple of months ago. I started going into our search engine and realized that not only was I getting a far better deal through our Travel Pro product that we offer, but I was also getting cash back. And I thought, man, I wish I'd been using this for the last year. And so this is something that is available to all of our members inside of our community as well. So we've got just another benefit of being inside of this entire ecosystem. And of course, we've got to talk a little bit about blockchain and NFTs. Blockchain has disrupted the world when it comes to business. And you look at NFTs today, anything and everything can become an NFT. It stands for non-fungible token. Essentially, it's digital real estate. We've just seen the first houses sold both in Florida and in Georgia now that were converted to NFTs and transferred. And in the process, they eliminated many of those fees, those expensive fees that go along with selling a home and buying a home. Blockchain is the future, and we're at the core of it right now. Literally, we're right at its infancy. And that's what excites me so much to talk to you now about some of our strategic partners. DET. DET's kind of a funny word, stands for decentralized, eco-friendly blockchain technology. And you're looking at the DET Council here. These guys have an amazing background and story, this is 20 years in the making. You go back 20 years, these guys were physically mining things like gold and diamonds and oil, just to name a few. And they were very successful at it. It's what their family has been involved with for many, many years. They had a long-standing history in countries like Ghana, for example, where you had the Chinese that would come in, and when they would mine, they would strip mine. So they would desecrate the land. And on the other hand, what these guys would do when they were done with a project is they would go plant 1,000 trees. And they would, if they found water, they would reroute that water to local villages. So in the process of doing that, they started to gain favor with the locals, with the chiefs, as well as the royalty families, and eventually all the way up to the president. And so they developed a wonderful reputation inside of the country of Ghana. About 7 years ago, they were introduced to a technology that has the capability of being able to scan the earth, utilizing satellites in space, and they can read the frequency of different elements that are in the ground, different commodities that are in the ground, things like oil, things like gold, things like copper, and not only locate geographically where they are, but to find them with so much accuracy. They can now find gold or a vein of gold running through a mountainside and locate it to within a few feet in the ground. Now, obviously, prior to this, the technology that's used to be able to go and find these types of commodities that are in the ground was not 100% accurate. And that's one of the key reasons why you have these exploratory companies that are constantly drilling holes that come up dry. I don't know if anybody's ever invested in an oil well, but it's kind of like a crapshoot. You might have 1 in 10 that strike oil if you're lucky. And so what's neat about this is that they have been able to completely disrupt the entire exploration industry as a whole. And in the process, what they've been able to do is they've been able to establish a number. We're talking about hundreds of partners in many countries around the world. And just to give you an example of how that technology works, and what they're doing is they're utilizing satellites that are in space. They run a scan of an area of land. This is an example of one of our early partners that we partnered with in Nevada. This is our Nevada oil field project. What you can see there in the green is a small area where they were drilling in the 50s and 60s. They thought that it had gone dry. The company that hired us, we brought us in, we scanned the land. We were able to find at different depths, different elements that were in the ground. But those pink areas that you see are chambers of oil that they did not know existed. We were able to help them find a 20 million barrel of oil well, enough oil to be able to extract 5,000 barrels of oil every day for the next 20 years. So essentially what they're doing is they're helping them to reduce their exploration costs tremendously. They're helping to be able to attract new liquidity before they even drill into the ground by providing these reports and these scans to their potential investors. They're helping people to become more efficient, to know exactly where to enter into a well to be able to extract the maximum amount of oil or natural gas. And so as a result of that, they started to attract other partners. For me, as I learned more and more about this and ultimately got involved and started considering becoming a collector, one of the key things is I had to know that it was real. I had to know that the assets that were behind our projects were absolutely real. I've had a chance to be able to travel the world, documenting those travels, putting out a lot of videos, being able to show people the different oil wells. For example, in Nebraska, you're going to see here in just a moment, we've gone all the way over to Ghana where we've had a chance to be able to explore the different high-yielding agricultural fields. We've gone into, the gold concessions, just to name a few. And so for me, I was excited about the fact that we have a company that's in the physical world doing these amazing things in the mining industry, right? I mean, they've really become the Uber of the mining industry. And I say that because if you think about it, Uber has become the largest transportation company in the world that doesn't have any vehicles. And in the same way, we become one of the largest mining companies in the world that doesn't own any mining equipment. Now, what excited me was that they were taking these commodities and they were marrying them with the digital space. They were marrying them with cryptocurrency. Right, we're the first in the world to be able to marry the physical world, physical assets with digital assets. I've always known that the moment that somebody tokenized a commodity, fortunes would be made. And I say that because if you think about it, you go back to 1971. Prior to 1971, we had the gold standard. That meant that every dollar that was printed, you had to have the equivalent in gold. In 1971, Richard Nixon removed that gold standard. It was quite controversial. And in the process of removing it, he gave the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, I would ask this question, are they a government agency? Who really owns the Federal Reserve? They gave these individuals, these elites, this privately owned institution, the ability to be able to print money at will. And so since that time, the US dollar's lost approximately 90% of its value. I'll give you an example. So 10 years ago, let's just take a dollar of fiat currency, or 10 years ago, a dollar of Bitcoin. Which one would you rather have owned? If you could go back 10 years, or even 12 years to when Bitcoin was first coming out, 12, 13 years ago, and you knew then what you know now, if you could go all the way back and you could take $100 and buy, you just take a $100 bill, would you say, I'd rather have the $100 bill or $100 worth of Bitcoin? One is life-changing. One is nowhere near worth what it used to be. And it is definitely fiat currency, because Bitcoin has gone up dramatically over time. And that is what I'm showing you here. I want to talk a little bit about the power of accumulation. I had a mentor. I've been in the cryptocurrency industry since about 2015, 16. And I had a mentor through this last bull run that earned over $50 million during that period of time. And he said this to me, and it was some of the most valuable advice that he gave to me at that time. He said, Travis, the decisions that you make in a down market and the tokens that you can accumulate during that same period of time have the ability to be able to build significant wealth over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. But here's the key. Profits always flow from the impatient to the patient. I'll give you an example. When I was first getting involved in cryptocurrency, I was involved in an Ethereum project. At that time, Ethereum was $70, $80, maybe $90 per coin. And we had accumulated hundreds and hundreds of Ethereum tokens at that time. And then all of a sudden, in around 2017, the crypto markets crashed. And of course, with that crash comes all of the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt, FUD, that the media loves to share and spread, right? Because the media, banking system, they're all connected. So they see every opportunity to come out and say, we told you that this was going to be the worst in the dot-com bubble. We told you that it wasn't backed by anything. Stay away from cryptocurrency. You had all of these executives, the CEOs of JP Morgan to Goldman Sachs saying, we don't support cryptocurrency, calling emergency meetings, telling people, listen, stay away from cryptocurrency. We don't promote it. We don't endorse it. We don't want anything to do with it. So here's the problem. The problem is that once you go into a crypto winter, this is one of the biggest challenges with crypto. If you're buying on the way up, and then all of a sudden we go into this crypto winter, you could be there for 3 or 4 years where you're looking at your portfolio saying, come on, just do something, do anything. And it's hard, especially when you're, especially if your income level maybe is fluctuating, your circumstances are changing and things get a little bit tight. And now you're looking at this portfolio over here that maybe is worth 20% of what it used to be. However, that money can look enticing when things are tight, right? We've all been there. And so you have to make the decision. Do I sell for a loss? Here's what you have to understand. When you sell at a loss, there's always somebody on the other side that's buying up your losses. So here's the rest of the story. So Ethereum dropped and lost 91% of its value. And I had hundreds and hundreds of Ethereum. And we found ourselves, we're entrepreneurs. You live by the sword and die by the sword. You have great years and you have some years you're like, man, And so I ended up cashing out and selling my tokens. And only a few years later, in 2020, late 2020, going into 2021, Ethereum hit $3,000 per coin. So the power of accumulation, especially in a down market, is a remarkable thing. And what you're seeing on the screen here is an example of our first project that we launched, Black Gold, that was backed by the royalties that were coming in from the different oil wells that we had at that time. And you can see now on January 2nd, the project launched in November. I wish we had a screenshot all the way back in November, but we don't have one. But you can see January 2nd, the value balance of those tokens that they were accumulating was about $1,300. You can see on January 11th, same amount of tokens, right at roughly $2,300. January 21st, $11,000. Then March 13th, $19,000. You see, the thing is if you go back to the Bitcoin miners in the early days, they were getting about thousands of Bitcoin a day. Could you imagine that? Now, it sounds exciting, but it was only worth $2 or $3 at the time. They didn't even have a clue what they had in their hands. But those people that held on, that didn't take all of their Bitcoin and go buy 2 pizzas with it, or go throw away a computer, in the landfill, that because they didn't realize what they had on their hard drive, when all of a sudden it shot up within only a few years, those same amount of tokens were worth a tremendous amount of money. And that is the beautiful thing about accumulation. For me right now in a down market, I don't care about the price of the coins I'm accumulating. There's a difference between price and value. And in a down market especially, they will never be one and the same. What I'm looking at is I'm looking for value at a great price. And as you become more experienced in this industry, you start to identify that value. We call it utility, the purpose behind the projects. So when I saw a company that was introducing tokenization of assets, and they introduced a project called Black Gold that was backed by real oil, I knew it was a home run. And I'm only sad that I missed out on that first project, because there were a lot of people that made a lot of money. You're going to meet some of them tonight. So for me, what excites me the most about this entire ecosystem that DET has introduced is these real world assets that are in high demand. You see these different projects. You see some of our oil projects. We have now over 500 natural gas and oil wells that are either online or in underwriting currently at this time. When we first started, we were working with small farmers, small landowners. We're now working with countries like Dubai, countries like Ghana, where we're literally disrupting the entire mining industry as a whole. You can see some of the natural gas pipelines that we have on the right-hand side. Down on the bottom left-hand side is a group of us that are there in Ghana, literally in the middle of the jungles of Ghana, where it was hot. The bus didn't miss one pothole on the way there in a three-hour drive. I almost had my head taken off by an axe standing there in that little pit right there. But these assets are real. And that is what makes us different. That, as well as the royalty income that's coming in. So how does it all work? So let's look at our node licenses. Node is kind of a funny word, but let's break it down a little bit further. So blockchains require nodes to operate. Nodes help validate transactions on the blockchain. Remember, we've taken the middleman out of the equation. You go swipe your debit card, you get 15 to 30 seconds later, an approval comes back. Why? Because there's a third-party intermediary that's there to validate the transaction, make sure the funds are good, make sure that there's no fraud being committed. In that same way, nodes enforce the protocol based on the governing of smart contracts. And what I love the most about those smart contracts is they can't be manipulated, they can't be changed, they can't be, somebody can't go in and say, you know what, I want to change the terms. Because once the nodes are programmed, they are programmed. They help enforce the protocol. Now, here's the beautiful thing. You and I can own nodes. The analogy I would give is, think about going back into the early 80s when ATMs were becoming a thing, and you had a chance to be able to go place ATMs at all the different gas stations, all the different stores, even casinos. And every time somebody put a debit card into the ATM, you got paid a transaction fee from $3 to $30, depending on where it's at around the world, right? Would you have done that if you could have been one of the first? Absolutely. And that is the way I look at mining. Because every time that there's a transaction, these nodes are working to validate those transactions, and they receive a reward. And that reward is a token, a digital token, digital currency that has value, that has the potential to go up in value over time based on its purpose and based on its utility. So they're crucial to the network security and integrity of all blockchains. So you look at DET, and what they've done is they have brilliantly simplified one of the most complex conversations in the world. Let's face it, cryptocurrency, it's still not easy. Anybody ever try to buy tokens or coins on PancakeSwap knows that this is still not easy. And that's coming, right? We're still in our infancy. You look at fiat currency, it's been around since 1791. So 10, 12 years, whatever, 13 years, we're still in our infancy. We're all still pioneers in this space, but it's the pioneers that they write about in the history books. So what DET has done is they've taken all the guesswork out of it. There's no meme coins here. They've created environments and platforms and technology that makes it rug pull proof. One of the biggest challenges in cryptocurrency today, and we've talked about a few already, we've talked about the volatility, right? That's one big problem that keeps people from getting involved because they don't want to have to hold on for 3 or 4 years. What if they need their money in a down market? So that's one challenge. But another problem is meme coins and pump and dumps and rug pulls. There's, at one point it was estimated that as much as 98% of the projects that are out there in the cryptocurrency industry have no utility, no purpose, no substance at all. So what does that mean? Well, if we wanted to start our own coin today, we could go start our own coin. And let's say that, I'm excited about being an owner. So I'm going to give you myself 10 million tokens. And, let's say that, I've got 3 or 4 partners and each one of them gets 10 million tokens. And then we're going to go get a few influencers that are online. We're going to give them each 10 million tokens to go out and start pumping this out there on social media. People start to see these influencers and celebrities. And they think, wait a second, here's a new project over here. This sounds good. They're talking about what they're going to do, right? When we're on, this blockchain, and when we're on this exchange, and when we do all of these things, these tokens are going to be worth so much money. So people come in and they buy up, right, an initial coin offering, and they're hoping to get lucky. They're playing the lottery. 1 in 1,000 might hit. They're thinking, you know what? I heard of a buddy of mine whose friend made a ton of money in an ICO. Nobody's ever met the guy that actually made it, but we've all heard about him. And so, you know what? We all buy in. And pretty soon, these influencers start pushing it. They're incentivized to do so. And all of a sudden, what happens? People start buying. The values start to come up. Well, the values go up. So now what happens? The hype kicks in. The most powerful emotion in the world starts happening. FOMO, fear of missing out. Most powerful emotion in the world. Many of you on this presentation understand it because we have all bought dumb projects and tokens that literally had foxes or dogs on the cover of the coin, zero utility, but it was going up. And we thought, you know what? Maybe I can get lucky too. Am I right? We've all been there. So here's the problem. The problem is the project hits its peak, and then those owners say, okay, I think we've reached the top of this thing. So what happens? We all sell. The influencers sell. What happens to the value of those tokens? They crash. And now you're hanging on to something, hoping and praying that one day maybe the value will come back. Guys, what debt has done here with the royalties that come in that support the value of these tokens is they have created an environment that helps to reduce the volatility, but more importantly, the royalties that are coming in from these projects help to ensure that those rug pulls do not happen. And I would encourage you to take a look at some of our tokenomic videos to truly understand how that works. So, simplicity, very simple. You buy a mining license. You pick a project that you're excited about. You get it activated. Company does that for you. It takes about 72 hours before it starts mining. Step number 2 is you start earning rewards daily through the mining process. You can watch them roll in literally on your app in real time. You can watch the tokens being deposited into your account. You can withdraw them right at that point. And then from there, they go into your own decentralized wallet that you are the only person that has access to it. You hold the keys. Very important. If you don't hold the keys, then it is not decentralized and you do not have control of your money. Go ask people that were involved with FTX. Step number 3. It's a big one. It's a hard one. If you can click a withdraw button and withdraw those rewards, you can now cash them in. I know it's a hard step. If you can't do that, there's an Amway meeting happening in another hour. I can get you the link for that. That's it. Step 1 is you purchase a mining license. Step 2, you start receiving rewards. Step 3, you make a choice. You either cash them in daily, you swap them from other projects in our ecosystem, or you hold them for upside potential growth. And that is what I am as a holder. I believe in the tokenomics. I understand simple supply and demand economics. Not going to get too much into that tonight because I want to give time for our special guests here. I'm going to bring you on here in just a moment. But I believe in the utility of a project. And what do I mean by that? Think about this. 4% of the world has a cryptocurrency wallet. It's projected to grow to 10% over the next few years. Guys, if you want a success formula, figure out where people are going and just get there faster. But if you want to make a lot of money, provide real-world solutions to some of the biggest problems that industry is facing. We have provided solutions to the crazy volatility and hanging out for 3 or 4 years by bringing in royalty-backed projects. We are first in the world to introduce asset-backed cryptocurrency. Bitcoin was first, right? Bitcoin is the reason we're all here. We were first. And you know what those same CEOs that a few years ago at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are doing now? Goldman Sachs is buying up exchanges. The CEO of JP Morgan, the same guy 2 years ago that was on TV telling you that cryptocurrency isn't real, you know what he's doing? He's buying crypto, and he's talking about how they're going to move trillions of dollars into the tokenization of assets. They want to tokenize everything. Do yourself a favor. When we're done, just type JP Morgan tokenization of assets. Look at where all the banks, don't look at what they say. Look at what they're doing. So 3 simple steps. We are on it. Some of you say, well, can I cash in those tokens? Yes, you can. We're on a number of different exchanges, including some of the top 15 exchanges in the world. You know, this is validation for me because it's not just one exchange, right? We've been able to take our utility token, which is the debt token, which, by the way, launched at a penny about 16 months ago. That's sitting somewhere around $13, $14 right now. A penny, and sitting at $13, $14 right now. I'm going to say that twice. And we've been able to get that approved on a number of different exchanges, and we're working on many more. It's easier to get one coin approved on a dozen exchanges than it is to get dozens of coins on a dozen exchanges. So everything that we do is paired to the debt token. So every project that is launched on our inside of our ecosystem is paired to this particular token. So you exit out of whatever project into the debt token, you can take that onto any of these different exchanges, and you have 100% liquidity in all of our projects. And we've had some neat projects, and we have so many cool projects that are available. The one tonight is going to blow your mind, but our debt, NatG, Beat Black, Gold, and Grow are now sold out. We have digitally linked gold. You know, gold has become a staple for when it comes to stored value, historically speaking, for many, many years. So, you know, if you're a little more on the conservative side, DLG is a great project. We have aluminum. I love the aluminum projects. Aluminum is one of the most sought after. Go look at the demand for aluminum in the last 10 years. Look at the projected demand over the next 10 years. And you'll understand why I love aluminum. We're partnered with Ghana Bauxite Corporation, 97-year-old company. We have enough aluminum in the hills there to be able to mine for the next 200 years alone. It is exciting to me to know that long after I'm gone, my children will still have licenses that are mining and producing income for them. That's legacy. Explorer is the satellite technology that makes all this possible. It's the first cryptocurrency in the world backed by satellites in space. And right now, both Aluminum and Explorer, I'm excited to announce, are $2,000 off for a flash sale that we are doing. So instead of $3,500, they're literally $1,500. You can save yourself $2,000 on both of those projects right now. I have about 30 Aluminum and about 30 Explorer. I love both of those projects. To me, they're a little more longer term, next 3 to 5 years. I think in terms of 3 to 5 years when it comes to wealth creation. Bev is a project that was very exciting, sold out very quickly. Blocks had some fireworks over the last couple of weeks. The Blocks owners are really happy right now. Blocks is real estate. You know, right now you got a lot of investors that are sitting on the sideline that were once buying properties a few years ago that don't like the values today. They think that the market is overinflated. And so this is a way for them to be able to still put their capital to work, as well as those that don't have the capital to go buy real estate can get involved with real estate, because we've got a fund that allows us to be able to go and fund large projects, both in the commercial space as well as the residential space. Drip is one of my favorite projects. That's now $500 a license instead of $2,000, by the way. So this is an outdated slide deck. $500 a license. This is a license that was selling for $7,000 about 2 months ago. Water is one of the most valuable commodities in the world. Biblically speaking, they say that future wars will be fought over water. And we're really close to selling out. We're about 95% sold out on this particular project. You might ask, well, why is the same license now $500 when it started at $7,000? Because it's called a half-life project, which means half of the tokens in the entire project were paid out within the first 60 days. So the people that came online, they paid a premium for that large amount of accumulation, but it's still a phenomenal project. Let me tell you my strategy. Doesn't mean that this is not financial advice. It's just what I do. I always buy a license when it comes out, or more if I can. And then I wait until we get down to these lower end prices on the back end, and I'll go in and buy 5 to 10 more. And here's why. Because the NFT value is the same. And what that means is when a project sells out, it converts to an NFT, and you now have a potential appreciating asset. So I'm paying the same amount for that NFT that I have the potential to be able to, or the opportunity to be able to sell when the project sells out and it converts to an NFT, as the people that paid $7,000 for it. And if I go buy 5 to 10 of them, it puts me right back into an accumulation stage again. And I'm getting them for $500 a license. And then, of course, we have DCM, which is an amazing project, sold out. Not going to get into it tonight. And we are going to now introduce you, need a little drum roll, to our newest project to be able to be introduced into the debt ecosystem. To be able to do that, I want to bring on my friends here. I want to bring on, first of all, the CEO, the founder. He is a board-certified surgeon of the last 20 years. Good friend of mine who I had a chance to be able to meet in Ghana, sitting next to me here on one of those buses that hit all those potholes. Dr. Buck, are you with us today? Love to be able to introduce you as well. Hey, brother, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm also going to bring on my good friend, COO, Mr. Ben Ashley. Both of these guys had the pleasure of being involved in Black Gold when it first launched. So you guys were there at the beginning. So nobody knows the tokenomics better than these two. And I'm excited to have you guys both here. I know that everybody is chomping at the bit to be able to learn more about this new project. I'm going to let you introduce it, Ben. What's it called? Tell me.
So the RXT token.
RXT token. So we know that it's involved in the pharma industry.
Correct.
And we know that it has the ability to be able to have a significant impact as well. Give us an opportunity to participate in all of that. So talk to me. Tell me a little bit about how this all works. Give me a little bit of history and give me a little bit of what this project is all about.
Absolutely. I'm trying to. Can you see the slide deck right now? Is it up for you?
It's not up yet. There you go. There you go.
So first off, Travis, thank you so much for having us on. Myself and Dr. Parker, we last time I think we saw you in person was in Africa when we were out visiting some of the sites in support of these projects. I love to talk about how, our journeys into the debt box and IX Global started in different ways. You found IX, were introduced to debt. Myself and Dr. Parker, we were amongst the first 100 note holders back in November of 2021. And like you said, Black Gold was the first project I purchased. And for me, it really resonated because I had been just like you looking into cryptocurrencies and I had been asking a lot of my friends that I really respected in business. No one 2 years ago was talking about tokenizing assets. No one. It wasn't even part of the conversation. In fact, when I presented, I have a very good mentor and friend who's very successful. He's a billionaire. And I said, hey, what do you think of cryptocurrencies? And he goes, I think blockchain is very cool and the transparency and the functionality, but I don't understand what gives these cryptocurrencies value. So when I was introduced to the debt box and they were talking about tokenizing commodities, oil and gas, particularly during that time, Black Gold was the first project. When you said earlier, I don't know anyone that's invested in oil well, I have. And normally, someone like me, I grew up in Montana and lived in a trailer park and would not have access to invest in something like that. But I had a trucking company. I was hauling oil up in the Bakken in North Dakota and had this lucky opportunity to invest in a well. So took every bit of money I had, invested in that oil well. And just like you said, it was dry. So when the debt box started talking about, we have the satellite technology that can give us an advantage into locating these commodities and knowing exactly what depth they're at, it completely resonated. And I jumped on board and was super excited about Black Gold. And what I love about Black Gold is it sort of teed us up for this project, RXT. So Dr. Buck Parker, he and I met through Debtbox and through a charity car rally we went on. So when he came to me and had this idea and said, I'm starting this company, I've always had a lot of respect for him as a doctor. And, he'll introduce himself a little bit later on, but he's a trauma surgeon and surgeons fix people. They don't treat people, Surgeons he always tells you this, I want to fix people. I want to fix them and send them on their way. And so to have someone start a company looking to improve the healthcare industry, and every member of the board of the FAIR project is a medical doctor that works in all different aspects of medicine. And their goal is to improve the healthcare industry through blockchain and AI technology. So that was something I could really get behind. And our RXT is our first project. We're honored to be the first L2 project to come on the debt chain that we've been talking about that's coming soon. We're a little bit early, but so we're really, really excited about that. And RXT is going to be our Black Gold. A lot of the projects you were talking about, when they were only two licenses or only two projects that have only 50,000 nodes available is debt and Black Gold. Well, which two would you like to have the most of right now if you could pick more? Those two, right? Aluminum, Explorer, Blocks, some of those have 100, 150, 250,000 nodes. So we're coming out with what we feel like is our most impactful and powerful project to start. There will be others to come within the FAIR project. But what happened is we have two different ways that we're supporting this token through pre-market pharmaceuticals. We met Dr. Parker met a group out of Texas that has been bringing these many drugs to market for the past over 10 years. The drug we're looking at to now is called Renibus, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But they have a proven track record. They have members on the board. We asked them the other day, we said, how many of these pre-market pharmaceuticals have you lost on it? And they said, we have a perfect track record. We've never lost. They know what they're doing. Renibus is incredible. And then we're also on top of that relationship and leveraging their experience. We have an AI platform that we've patented that will help us determine, which drugs most likely will exit to the market, will be approved by the FDA, and which of them should, what will have the most efficacy and do the most good in the market. So that's what we're doing with this project. We're generating revenue through these pharmaceuticals to support the RXT token, just like Black Gold. You said in the very beginning, when I first got my first node, there was 1 or 2 wells supporting that. Now there's over 500 in the pipeline. Same thing with RXT. We have multiple drugs that we're looking at. Renibus is the first one, but we already have 10 others on deck that will also support this token. So same power of proving out this platform. Like I said, there's only 50,000 nodes available. When Black Gold started, I think we were among the first 100 people involved. Grassroots grew out of Utah. With the power of IX, I think these will go pretty quickly. So if this is a project you're interested in, I would definitely get your licenses as soon as possible.
Well, and let me ask you a question real quick. I'm going to stop you. So you said for a moment, these projects are these pharmaceuticals that come to market. It's my understanding that they can go and raise, hundreds of millions of dollars. But when they go IPO, can you talk to me a little bit about what that feels or what that looks like?
Right. Yeah. And they've told us, some of this group, some of their previous projects were they brought Mucinex to the market, Nicoderm, Nicorette. Many of these pharmaceuticals, they're all different, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results. But many of these pharmaceuticals, they'll raise $100 to $300 million, and they'll exit to the market in the billions. $2 to $3, $4 billion. There's a lot of money in pharmaceuticals. Obviously, healthcare is massive. Healthcare accounts for 18% of the U.S. GDP as a whole, which is just incredible to think about how much money that is. You can see this chart here: worldwide pharmaceutical revenue, $1.4 trillion in 2022. That's worldwide. Now, of that, America holds 42% of that. So for anybody involved with IX that's outside of America, like I said, everyday people, we don't have access to invest in these type of things or to be a part of these projects. Through the debt box and through Fair Project in these mining nodes, we're able to participate in these type of opportunities. It's incredible. So America is the driving force behind most pharmaceuticals that come to the market. When you talk about industries, I was so excited about Black Gold because I know how big the energy sector is and how cool to be a part of an ecosystem that's got technology, precious metals, energy, high yield agriculture, beverage, and then now healthcare and medicine. You look at the top 10 industries by revenue in the United States, oil and gas is number 10. The top 4 are all within the healthcare industry. Pharmaceuticals is number 3. So we will have future projects that will be involved in other aspects of healthcare, but this is our first, and we're really excited to bring it to everyone's attention within IX. This is just a little, and Buck, maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about this. This is our patent that we just filed for the AI platform. I think you can explain a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, so the this is a patent pending technology, and this is sort of what we're basing a lot of this around. The RXT node and token around is basically what we've developed is AI algorithms to tell us which drugs which drugs have a higher percentage chance of getting approved by the FDA. So as from a investing standpoint, you're like, okay, great. Now, if I know that certain drugs early on have a higher chance of getting approved by the FDA, and then also why they're going to get approved, and if they're safe and effective and all those things, then we can sort of target our capital to have basically an advantage when we're investing our capital. So that's the one of the patents that we've applied for. And so we're super excited about that because not only do we have this patent to help us invest or deploy the capital, but we also are developing it just like ChatGPT, where they're licensing or subscribe. You could subscribe to ChatGPT for $10 a month, whatever it is. But for us, we can also license this to the pharmaceutical industry and generate revenues like with that as well. And so that those royalties will go to the RXT token, in addition to the pharmaceutical, like the money from the pharmaceutical exits.
On Renibus, this is amazing. This story, when they went down and first looked at this drug, this is the first drug that we're involved with. Buck, tell us what it does, and then what you saw the potential of it as a surgeon.
Yeah, so this is like Ben said, this is one of many pharmaceuticals that we're looking at. Now, all of these that we're looking at are pre-market pharmaceuticals, and sort of our model is to find biotech companies or pharmaceuticals that have not hit the market yet, invest in them, and then obviously they have some sort of liquidity event, like they get IPO or they sell to a large pharmaceutical company. And so Renibus is sort of our flagship pharmaceutical, and they're also allowing us to share this information with everybody. Not all the pharmaceutical companies are allowing to do that, but Renibus is a unique drug because it sort of protects all the cells from inflammatory injury. So initially they started out looking at cardiothoracic surgery patients. So if you get a heart bypass or a valve or something like that, open heart surgery, obviously that's a large trauma to the system, right? And typically the body responds to these types of things in this overwhelming sort of inflammatory response. And a lot of the treatments that when patients have an overwhelming inflammatory response, we try to, it's our own response, right? It's like our immune system kind of thing that is doing a lot of the damage. So we try and stop that. What this drug does is it's like a cytoprotective. So it essentially sits, in front of the cells and protects the cells from our own inflammatory response or our own hyperimmune response. But what happened is when we started out, when we met these guys and we saw their presentation initially, I looked at it and said, "Oh, this is cardiothoracic surgery, but what about that?" And that was like 400,000. They were targeting like 450,000 patients a year. So I raised my hand and said, what about trauma? What about sepsis? What about all these other injury patterns, which we have this hyper inflammatory response? And at the time they said, well, we're not sure yet. And then of course a few months later they announced, yes, it can target a lot of these other responses, or a lot of these other problems, as well as cardiothoracic surgery. And so that increased the number of patients that it could treat to probably 2 million plus. So we're pretty excited about that because we identified this pre-market pharmaceutical. We're like, great, we're gonna invest in this. And then not only did it increase triple the number of patients that could be treated every year, it also got breakthrough designation and a fast track designation with the FDA within the last 3 months. So we're pretty excited about that.
And that is huge. And I'm just getting educated in a lot of this as I'm spending more and more time with Dr. Buck and the other board members. Fast track designation is something that happens, I don't know how often, but it is something that happens through the FDA. It's when the FDA sees potential in a drug, they see the efficacy of it, they see that it's going to do good in the market, they want to get that drug to the market sooner. Breakthrough designation is fairly rare. Last we looked, only 251 biotechs or pharmaceuticals were ever given breakthrough designation, only 5 this year. So Renibus was just given that. You can see news stories on that. This is a drug that the FDA's got, they're behind. They see what it's going to do. That like those Dr. Buck was saying, the studies show that it wasn't just, protects all organs, even the brain, which is just incredible. And this is the team that's behind it. They have been doing this for years. They've got people on the board of a lot of the drugs they work with. And so they're going to help feed us future projects as well. We've got others we're looking at, as well as our AI platform that will help identify and support the token. So that's that's the power of this project, right? We're coming out strong as the FAIR project with our one of our most powerful nodes. Only 50,000 nodes available. There'll only be 500 million tokens. This is also a half-life token, similar to Grow. So Travis, you talked about the power of that and holding that. If I'd known a year and a half ago, November of 2021, or I guess it's been longer than that now. If I'd have known where black gold would have gone, I would have never gotten rid of a single token. I had no idea where this was going to go. But I come from a real estate background, and Debtbox and IX Global, those two opportunities allowed me to leave a career of 20 years. And it's been so fun. And so I'm so excited to be a part of the FAIR project and be a part of the team to help improve and revolutionize the healthcare industry. We are starting this token off a little bit differently than a lot of the other half-life tokens. We're starting at a lower price. There's about 2,000 nodes sold so far, just launched today on the IX platform. So they're available now in micros and in perpetual nodes. So go get those. But we're going to raise pricing to top out at about $4,500. So you can see these break points. Get them soon, accumulate as many tokens as possible. Like you said, it's all about accumulation. That's what these projects are about. And I'm a big fan of aluminum as well. And it's pretty exciting what happened with blocks. I mean, that's just incredible what's happened. It's been huge. So we're super excited, very, grateful for IX to include us and to be the first L2 project on the debt platform. We've got a lot of other channels out there. So if you want some information, go to the fairproject.ai. And what you'll do is, because we are the first L2 project, we're not going to be included in your Debtbox dashboard right out of the gates until the debt chain is launched. So you'll go to your IX platform, buy your nodes just like you would any other project, but then go over to the fairproject.ai and set up your dashboard there, and your licenses will be airdropped over. Just be sure to use the same email that's associated with your IX dashboard when you set up your Fair dashboard. And then at some point, we don't know what the debt chain is going to look like and how that integration will work. I know there's many other projects coming, which is so exciting, but we will be integrated into their marketplace as that happens. This was a little bit behind, out of order, but like I said, I don't think there could be a better CEO of a company than a board certified trauma surgeon that's also been involved in cryptocurrency for over 10 years, and somebody that, and along with the other board members, that just really see a need to improve the healthcare industry as a whole through technology and blockchain. It's just amazing what can be done, and how big this segment of the economy is. So we're super excited about it.
That's awesome. Dr. Parker, how are you, my friend?
I'm great.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We're not dying of sweat in the bus driving right now. So it's so exciting what you guys have done here. And I hope you don't mind. I do have a question for you. And I know you obviously have some things to share. And it's a question I have to ask because, there's some people that are watching this presentation right now that when they hear the word pharma, I don't want to say there's a negative connotation, because pharmaceuticals are saving lives in many different areas. But there's some people that, they think that big pharma is this evil entity. And I'm not saying they are or they're not. But, for those individuals and for people that, hear the word FDA, they're like, they hear those words. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and just your position on and where this project stands in relationship to some of those concerns?
Yeah, we get that a lot, kind of like, why are you working with the evil empire here? But the short answer is so we can improve the system. And I think that we have that chance. And so the long answer is sort of like, I've been in medicine for 20 years. I went into surgery. I wanted to become a surgeon. I didn't want to become a doctor. I didn't necessarily distinguish the two when I was like 17, but I was like, okay, I want to go into surgery because I wanted to fix people, send them on their way, have them forget about me, not take any pills, not manage, some pharmaceutical for 30 or 40 years and things like that. That's kind of how I imagined going into medicine. Well, it's a little bit different. I see the applications of pharmaceuticals certainly can improve quality and quantity of life for sure. And so with this, we saw the opportunity because of, sort of like I was always been very interested in technology. I started mining Bitcoin very early. We got lucky to be introduced to some of the debt council very early, and then sort of my wheels started turning. Like, how do I integrate all of these things? The blockchain technology. I always kind of saw that healthcare did not move very quickly with in regards to technology, and I was kind of frustrated with that a lot. So when I started to understand, especially when we started to see how that ecosystem was running, what they were doing with asset-backed cryptocurrency, the blockchain, things like that, then we started saying, okay, how can we put these things together? This is what I know. This is what I'm experiencing in healthcare. I know a lot of problems in healthcare. I know all the frustrations that you have as a surgeon or just a doctor, just in the system. And so I saw, wow, there's a real opportunity here to use blockchain and technology in general to marry that with healthcare, but also AI. And so when AI started to present as something that we could use recently over the 6 to 8 months or so, then we started to think about how can we make the system better, because not only can we use blockchain, that's great, asset-backed crypto, but let's not do a financial instrument. Let's make let's improve healthcare because it has all these problems. And so that's what we're trying to do, especially with this. Our first project is the RXT, where we say, okay, well, we're building these AI algorithms to understand how, the FDA that was our first track. Like, how does the FDA approve these pharmaceuticals? Because when I was, working, I could see some drugs would come online and everybody would say, oh, these are great. Look at all these amazing studies. And then, 5, 6 years later, it'd say, oh, well, you take this off the market, or this company got sued for, it had to pay $225 million, but they still have the drug on, but they're not, all these type of things. And so we started out saying, how can we understand how some of these medications are being approved by the FDA, and let's dive deeper and understand that deeper. And then if we can understand that process, then maybe we can make that process better, or at least we can open the door, start the conversation of making that process better. And that's really what we're after here. And with this AI technology, hopefully we can, number one, do well for our investors, right? But also improve the drug, making process. And whether that's for the, biotechs with our AI and helping them understand how they can make drugs that are safer and more effective, or if it's for the FDA or whoever else that is looking at this process. And so that's like what I'm really excited about. And that's just one small aspect. It's like the tip of the iceberg. And of course, medicine has a ton of problems. And so we're we're working on other AI to fix a lot of other problems in medicine, which is also exciting. But for RXT, it's amazing. So
that's awesome. Very cool. Is there anything that is there a particular area of focus within medicine that you're wanting to stay in general? Is there a particular field? Is there a particular, what is the criteria that you guys are looking for when you align yourselves there with a particular project?
Yeah. Well, so I think that right now we're kind of like, what is the low hanging fruit? And to me, the bloating and the bottlenecking is the low hanging fruit. And so for example, I've experienced where patients, like I used to work in Wyoming, and sometimes we wouldn't have a patient, we didn't have the ability to take care of a patient there for whatever reason. We didn't have a specialist or whatever it is, and you have to fly that patient out to, say, Salt Lake City, and then Salt Lake City gets them, and they say, well, you don't really need to fly this patient here, and we can probably just see him tomorrow in the clinic, whatever. But then that's like a $30,000 or $20,000 helicopter ride, and you're thinking, wow, these things kind of add up after a while. When I was in this system for 20 years, essentially seeing healthcare, so you see this add up a lot. And so those types of things, we're thinking, can we develop predictive analysis or predictive diagnoses, and help augment the provider's sort of knowledge with AI. And maybe we could have kept that patient there and didn't have to fly him to Salt Lake City and charge, get charged the patient $20,000 for a helicopter ride. So those are the types of things we're looking at. There's like 100 things I could talk about right now, but that's a great example. I think some of the other things are just note taking, like interaction with the patient, if I'm a doctor, I would usually have to go see the patient. Then I'd spend, I'd see the patient and you'd spend 20-ish or 30 minutes or whatever it is. And then you go spend like 45 minutes doing a note, right? Typing about what you did and what you want to do and all these things and documenting everything. It's a very big deal with medicine because everybody's very concerned about, am I going to get sued for every single interaction? And that's just kind of how it goes. But if we can automate those processes where the doctor doesn't have to, or even the nurse have to like sit down at a computer and type in like what exactly they're doing, then, if we can automate that thing, then the provider, the nurse, the doctor, NP, PA, whoever it is, can see the patient for longer. You can spend more time in front of the patient. That's the like important thing, right? So those types of things we're developing right now, and we're like super excited because there's so many problems. but it's a really exciting time, I think, in medicine. I haven't been this excited in a long time. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Somebody might be asking that's listening to this right now, why would a company that has brought products like Mucinex is huge, right? I mean, these are big names that you're talking about here that Ben mentioned earlier. So why would this company partner with there? What's the strategic partnership benefit to them and future partners that you're going to be bringing on board?
Sure. I mean, number one, they always need money, right? And if we can help them raise money, but also, some of our technology, if we can help them with our technology, they're interested in those types of things. So that is sort of the reason. And they loved blockchain. We talked to them about what we're doing, and they thought that was really cool. And the CEO and the CFO, when we initially met them, they were like, wow, this is very innovative, and we love to partner with you guys and see where you guys can take it.
That's awesome. Very cool. So Half-Life projects, we've seen some of the fireworks with some of the other projects with Half-Life. How many tokens are going to be paid out and at what point, or I guess before your first halving, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it's 500 million tokens total. The halving is June 1st every year. So we started mining June 1st, 2023, and then first halving will be 24 June 1st.
Okay, good. So the people that are getting involved right now are asking, am I too late? Did I miss out?
Yeah, it's very early. Yeah, very early. Perfect timing.
Good. Awesome. Anything else that you guys feel important that those that are looking at or considering getting involved with a license or coming on board with a license should know about this particular project?
Ben?
I think we've covered it. I really just think it's the sense of urgency for me. If I could go back and have the opportunity to pick up more black gold nodes with only 50,000 being available, boy, would I do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And also I love the idea of the micros. What really brought me into debt was that it allowed someone like me, a construction worker, a realtor, the opportunity to participate in these big projects in all different aspects. But even the micros to even break it down even further, allowing more people access. And I just think it's such a powerful tool, and we can change so many lives and help people. And that's what the project's all about, is helping people.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would add is just a reminder that, it's just not one. This is just not one drug. It's like BGLD, black gold. Initially they had one oil well. Now I don't even know what it is, over 100, something like that. And so that's the power of this, is that token is going to benefit from all of the biotechs that are pre-market pharmaceuticals that we are engaged with. And so that can go on as long as, biotechs are around, and as long as biotechs are innovating and making, things that we can use, making life better, improving quality of life, then that token will benefit from that as well.
And something real quick, Travis, I'll add, and not being a doctor, what I've noticed about all the biotechs we're looking at, these are not prescription pills that you would take on a daily basis. These are surgically related medical procedure drugs. Renibus is given, 3 days prior to the surgery. They know exactly how to administer it, to prep them, to protect those organs. One of the other drugs coming, everybody has a story with someone that struggled with health. One of our very closest friends just recently passed from fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and she was a nurse, brilliant. Like she basically developed her own treatment plan. And one of the other drugs we're looking at is a drug that can help identify cancer cells. And if she had something like that, because she struggled so much with like, do I keep doing this chemo that's killing me, or do I trust that they've gotten it all? And she tried everything. And if we can be a part of something that can help somebody like that, and that maybe this drug would have changed her life if she could have held on a little longer. And so it's something that we're really passionate about, and it feels good to do good.
That's awesome. So essentially being part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing from you guys.
You bet. You bet.
Well, listen, some of the standouts for me, 50,000 licenses on a project like this, based on the knowledge that we have now of projects like DET that had 50,000 licenses and Black Gold, I would anticipate that a project like this is going to sell out much faster than those projects did, number one. Number two, starting out at $2,000 per license and then moving our way up is a little different than some of the debt pricing models that we've seen recently. So that gives everybody an opportunity to be able to get in early during the accumulation phase, get in at $2,000 a license. But I will say this, 3,000 licenses will go very quickly within this community. We've seen that happen in a matter of a week or 2 weeks in some cases. And so if you want to be one of the individuals that's getting involved at that lowest price point, then now is the time to be able to grab one of these licenses. Is there a limit on license purchases? How many that we can purchase?
No, we don't have a limit on that.
Yeah, I don't think we have a limit.
Okay, so there's an opportunity to be able to pick up as many licenses as you want in the early stage of accumulation project that really is first in the world to be able to be bringing AI, the pharma industry, and this whole, project that these guys have put together. They're tokenizing that, and one of the things I also love is that you guys are going to be your L2 right now, level 2, layer 2. What that means is they're currently operating on somebody else's blockchain, but you guys will be the first outside project. So this is not run by DET, but you are operating on the DET, or will be operating on the DET smart chain when it launches. So you guys will be the first outside project of many in the future that are coming on board, which is exciting. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Travis, I'll echo that. Is like, we're kind of surprised that we don't know of any other project that is using blockchain and AI. Well, even blockchain in healthcare in this manner, like tokenizing revenues and things like that, and especially pharmaceuticals. So I think we're surprisingly the first, which is pretty awesome.
Well, and think about how many of us have sat around and said, how do I get involved? There's all these opportunities, but it seems like they're pre-market opportunities for the wealthy that are already kind of in the inner circle that never get invited to be able to participate. It's like when Google launched and there was a private offering before it went public, right? People, don't always have an opportunity to be able to participate in something like this. And so what I love about what you guys have done is you've really opened up an ability for all of us to be able to be involved in some of these projects, these pharmaceuticals that are coming to market. And that's what I'm most excited about, is I just know the potential. So the fact that we can be involved in this, and I would have never had that chance before, is exciting to me. That's something that fires me up.
Yep.
Well, listen, it was a pleasure as always to have you guys on. I sure appreciate you, Ben and Dr. Parker. We appreciate you as well. We're excited to, represent what you guys are doing and learn more. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of educational videos that follow this as well, but hopefully this gives you what you needed to be able to make a well-informed decision whether or not to go pick up an RXT license. My advice to you, unofficially, because I'm not a financial advisor, so this is unofficial. Here's what I would do. What I'm going to do. This is not advice. You do whatever you want to do. What I'm going to do is I'm definitely not going to sit on this. I'm definitely going to pick up some of these RXT licenses so that I can be one of the first to be able to be activated and start accumulating, because I understand the power of a half-life project and all that accumulation that's going to occur between now and next June. So with that, thank you guys very much for being here. It's always a pleasure. Everybody that was watching tonight, hope you learned something. Hope you gained some value out of watching this presentation. If you have any questions, get back to the person that invited you here. They'll be able to steer you in the right direction. With that, thank you so much. Once again, Travis Flaherty signing off here. You guys take care and God bless.